With Donald Trump back in the White House, what does this mean for small stocks and the Canadian stock market? Over the last 12 months, the Russell 2000, which is the index representing small stocks, outperformed the Standard & Poor's 500, which is the index representing big stocks. Now, the difference wasn't big at all. The Russell 2000, the performance was about 38% for the past 12 months. This is amazing. While for the Standard & Poor's 500, the performance was 37% for the past 12 months. So the difference was basically 1%. So it's just not extraordinary. But let's face it, the performance of these two indexes is just amazing, overwhelming. Imagine if you can make over 30% on your money year after year. Of course, this is not going to happen, but this just shows how extraordinary this last year was. Now, what can we expect for next year? Well, I'm expecting the Russell 2000 to outperform the Standard & Poor's 500 again. Why? Well, let's see at Donald Trump's policies, his economic policies, his visions. Number one, he said that he will increase tariff of products coming into the United States. He said that he will lower interest rate. He said that he will reduce taxes, and all the accumulation of all these elements, it gets a favorable stand to small stocks as opposed to big stocks. Now, as far as the Canadian market, I don't know if the outlook is so rosy. Why? Because Donald Trump is a protectionist, and one of the things that he said is that he was going to impose tariff on everyone, and everyone includes Canada. So I am predicting, or I got the feeling that the Canadian performance will not be as good as the US performance next year. So let's talk for a moment about the tax cuts that Donald Trump promised. Okay, first of all, I think this will benefit small companies more than big companies. Why? Because big companies, they already have a tax strategy. Imagine companies such as Apple or Amazon. They have branches all over the world. They have in Ireland, in other countries in Europe, in Asia, and they have complex tax strategies so that they can pay the lower marginal tax from all these countries. So they already are set up. But small companies, they are practically bound by the United States. They are regionally, and any reduction in taxes, they will receive greater benefits than any of the big stocks. Now, what's the impact of lower taxes? Well, taxes is one of the biggest expense of any corporation. So lower taxes means lower expenses, which means higher profits. So I think this lower taxes will be a great boost for small companies in the United States. How about the protectionist policy, the high tariff that Donald Trump is insisting that he's going to put? Well, I do believe him, because the last time he was in power, he did impose huge tariff on Chinese goods. So I believe, and in other goods from other countries in Europe, even his allies, his closest allies, he put tariff on them, including Canada. So what happens when Donald Trump imposes tariff on imported goods from all over the place? That means that domestic companies, they have less competition. If they have less competition, of course they can sell more products, and they can sell those products at a higher margin. So I think for the small companies in the United States, this protectionist mindset of Donald Trump, I think overall it should be beneficiary. Another promise of Donald Trump was that he was going to increase deregulation. Influenced by Elon Musk, they say that there are too many regulations in the United States. And guess what? Well, big companies can absorb the cost of regulation easier than smaller companies. Smaller companies struggle to just follow every rule that the government has. So if there is less regulations, smaller companies will have more of a runway to be able to grow, and they're just not going to have to spend all that money, time and effort to make sure they are following all the regulatory procedures of the federal government. And the last benefit of Donald Trump in regards to commerce in the United States is that he is going to try to push low interest rate. Yes, Donald Trump doesn't have the power to set interest rate in the United States, but he can be quite persistent and he is quite influential, and he's gonna try as much as possible to have low interest rate. So what happens when there are low interest rate? Well, companies can borrow money at a cheaper rate. You know, one thing is to borrow money at let's say 4% than 6%. It's a huge difference. So they can borrow money at a cheaper rate, or they can refinance the debt that they already have. Either way, it's gonna allow them to grow or to reduce the expenses, and both of these things are quite good. And already interest rates in the United States are going down, and I believe that they are going to continue going down unless maybe we have some inflationary pressures. But for the time being, at least for next year, things seems quite okay. I think interest rate will continue going down. So what are some challenges that Donald Trump and these financial policies will bring? Well, one of them is that he may start a trade war, okay? Because if he imposes tariff on products coming from Europe and from China and from Canada, well, guess what? Other countries will retaliate, and then it may be difficult for US companies selling products abroad to make a profit as well. Because let's say, I don't know, he imposes 50% on products coming from China, and then China says, okay, well, we're gonna put 50% tariff on products coming from the United States. Well, those companies who export products to China, they are going to suffer, and there are many of them. So we don't know how this war is going to turn out. I'm sure that there's going to be a war, but let's see. The other problem that I see with Donald Trump policies is that it may create inflation. Now, Donald Trump, when he was campaigning, he was criticizing Kamala Harris for not being able to hold down inflation, and he was promising that he could do it a lot better. But can he? I don't know, because imagine now that we have tariff of products coming from China. Let's say now a TV, a big TV, now instead of costing $1,000, now it costs $2,000 because of the tariff imposed on those products. Okay, so guess what? That creates inflationary pressures, and you know, not only TVs but shoes and clothes and all these things that people in the lower classes buy often. Everything that people buy in Walmart, on Target, on all these retail stores, many of these products, they come from China, and if they are double the price, then that's inflationary, and people are going to be pissed off about that. And I don't know how he's going to counteract against these inflationary pressures. That's also remain to be seen. Now, how does this affect the Canadian stock market? Well, let's start by bringing a little bit of gossip to the table. The fact is that Donald Trump does not like our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. In fact, in one of the conferences in the G7 in 2018, he said this about Trudeau. He said that Trudeau was weak and he was dishonest. Okay, so, and there is not an amicable relationship right there. Okay, and Donald Trump is very transactional, so if he doesn't like you, he's gonna find a way to screw you. So that goes to Justin Trudeau. It's not gonna be a nice relationship there. So if he is imposing tariff on Canadian products, let's say lumber, and let's say on in the automobile sector and in other many services, that means that Canadians, they are going to struggle. They are going to they're gonna have to find other clients for the products. Okay, other clients could mean Europe or China itself, but I don't think Canada has a great relationship with China either. So I think the Canadian economy may suffer a little bit. I'm hoping I'm wrong, because I live in Canada and a big part of my portfolio is in the Canadian index, but we will see. That's the nature of markets. So In conclusion, what is to be done? Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm selling a portion of my Canadian index portfolio, and I'm going to buy a small capital, the Russell 2000 index, and let's see how it goes. Hopefully I will make another video 12 months from now, and I will tell you the results of this prediction, of this gamble that I'm taking. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and until soon. Peace.